Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are enjoying your Friday. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. And then we're going to take a look at a couple of things. So we have Sphere 3D providing their production update for February. Finally, I mean, we're 22 days into the month of March already, and they're just not providing it, and it's not actually really good results there. We'll also take a look at really quick IREN Energy, or just IREN now, I guess. They're providing that they are amending their ATM to an additional 200 million. So that's giving them basically 500 million of ATM that they started back in September. We'll take a look at what that actually means, and could they be getting close to being fully funded to reach 20 exahash? We'll look at all those numbers there. And then we got Cleanspark CEO selling shares as well. There's obviously a lot of people angry about that from yesterday, so we'll take a look at that. I have some news for you guys on that as well. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but we'll get into all that. But as always, we're also 26 days away or so right now from the halving event, roughly, right? Give or take a day or two and a couple hours. But it's kind of where we are at. And as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. I'm invested in following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And then corrections will be posted to Discord, which is through Patreon, and then YouTube community posts and Twitter as well. Okay. So let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin and the miners. And obviously we haven't had really good 2 days. Well, the last 2 days haven't been good for us. As far as miners going up or Bitcoin going up or anything like that, it's actually been the opposite. We've been coming down here, which is, okay. I think a lot of it is due to Grayscale. Bitcoin Trust still selling a lot of the Bitcoin that they have. So that's obviously putting some sell pressure on it right now. But I think once that stops completely, it will be a different story going forward. But right now, we're down today about 2.55% on Bitcoin. We closed at 63,814. We're obviously quite a ways away from our high here at 73,835. But we still obviously bounced off of our support here at 61,000 roughly. So that's good news there. And we are obviously kind of battling a little bit here right now. We'll see where we go over the weekend. I think the weekend is going to be pretty much flat as we've seen in previous weekends as well. And then we might start seeing a little bit of a rally, maybe Monday, depending on how things go. But overall, I think just some profit taking here as well, like I said, along with the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust selling. Now, as far as the miners were concerned, all of them were in the red today, except for one. Wolf was actually up 3.36%. It's had a nice rally here in the last 3 days. Even though Bitcoin has been coming down in price, they've actually been going up here, and I think that's based on their financial results, which were pretty good. And I think that's kind of helping the stock out right now, which is nice to see as well. But everybody else here was pretty much down in single digits. IREN was down 10%. And I think that's because of the ATM. So we'll discuss that in a little bit here. And then CleanSpark was down 6% as well. And that's mainly because I think of the CEO selling shares. And we'll get into the reasons why for that as well. All right. So let's get into the stories that we do have here, which is going to be on IREN first. So IREN released this prospectus yesterday. And they're basically adding it to the 300 million that they had. They're adding another 200 million into it for a total up to 500 million. But they've already pulled a lot of it already. But here's what we have. So on September 26th, we filed a prospectus supplement relating to the offer and sale of our ordinary shares under the sales agreement, having an aggregate offering price of up to 300 million. This prospectus supplement replaces and supersedes the previous filed prospectus supplement dated September 26th in its entirety and reflects an increase of 200 million in aggregate offering price from an aggregate of up to 300 million. Under the previously filed prospectus, supplement to an aggregate of up to 500 million. Okay, so that's kind of what we got there. You can see here from time to time through or to the sales agents as agent or principal, of which 261.4 million have been sold as of March 15th, 2024. Right, so they already sold a large chunk of it already. I think they're just basically covering their bases here to get to the 20 exahash they want to get to by the end of this year. And if we look at the numbers here for them really quick, let's go start with this one here. So this is IREN right now. They have still, I think, these miners potentially here. This is approximately 3.8 exahash that they still need to possibly pay for. Right, these were supposed to come in Q1, Q2 of this year potentially. I'm not sure if those have come in yet. And then we have also going into 2024. I think these are part of Q2. But we have about 3.8 exahash there. That would get them to approximately 10.9. So they still need, without these, they still need basically 13 exahash to get to 21 exahash, or 20 exahash, sorry. Okay, based on those numbers, knowing that we know now on that, if we look at here my little cheat sheet that I have, they need to basically build out approximately 300 megawatts or so of infrastructure, facilities, and things like that, right? and they're getting the 190 terahash miners here, which are those there. That gets us to about 13 exahash with 300 megawatts. Cost per terahash is about $16 there. That total cost for the miners is about 208 million, right? They already pulled, how much did they pull here? 261 million. So that's pretty close to where they need to be, but that's not including also infrastructure build out. So I'm calculating here the infrastructure build out of 375,000 per megawatt, and they need about 300 megawatts. That gets us to approximately 112 million total for just the infrastructure costs alone. Combine those two together, and then we have about 320 million that they need in total to build out to that 20 exahash, right? They already pulled 260 of that. That still leaves them with about another 60 million or so, and this doesn't even include the AI servers that they were purchasing and things like that. So we might be up a little bit higher than that, maybe like 340 million that they need total for it, depending on the cost on the miners that they purchased, not the miners, but the AI servers. So in general, 320 million is roughly what we need, more or less, give or take a little bit here. And that just represents maybe another 60 million of dilution potentially. So that would represent 320 million. That will leave them with about 180 million left as a buffer, I guess you could say. So ideally, we're looking at maybe 350 million total before everything's said and done, right? Plus or minus a couple percentage points here. But that's kind of where we're at. So I think they are pretty close to being fully funded on this. I'm guessing it's going to take another couple of weeks to a couple months before they get to this point where they have the 320, 350 million, whatever it might be, to get to where they need to grow to 20 exahash. So I'm okay with this, right? Good growth here ahead of them. And we've seen this with other miners as well. We've seen it with Cleanspark. We've seen it with Bitfarms. We've seen it with Marathon. We've seen it with Riot. We've seen it with other miners as well. And that's, part for the course, I guess you could say, on it. With the miners needing to grow, wanting to grow, this is what obviously is going to happen. You're going to have dilution happening, right? So I think that's kind of why IREN, gosh, I keep saying Iris Energy. It's IREN now. I don't remember that. But this is, I think, where they need to get to more or less. They're pretty close to it already. I think that's going to be fine, right? So maybe a couple more weeks, couple more months of dilution a little bit, but it shouldn't be as heavy as it was in the past. Basically, what has it been, 5 months or so since September? Maybe 4 or 5 months of heavy dilution there. So this is looking pretty good here, at least in my point of view. Okay, so I just want to point that out to you guys for IREN. And then let's take a look at Cleanspark here really quick. Cleanspark reported yesterday on Form 144 that Bradford Zachary actually sold some shares yesterday, and obviously people got all up in arms about it. And he sold, it looks like 443,000 shares for an aggregate market value of about 8.9 million, almost 9 million right there. On it, he still has plenty of shares still. I think he sold like 10 or 20% of his numbers that he has for total shares right now. So he still has a lot of shares out there. And the reason was, I spoke with Matt Schultz from Cleanspark yesterday, and he was very candid and open about this. So I appreciate that. And with him sharing this information as well, he said that they use the 10b5-1 rule, which is meant to basically protect the management and things like that from possibly being viewed as selling on insider information potentially, right? So he said that they set this sale up last year sometime when the stock price was much lower than where it is right now. And Zach at that time said for the date of sale, he put his birthday, which I guess was possibly yesterday then. So happy birthday to Zach. And they set a price of $20, which they did not think is going to get there. I didn't even think Cleanspark was going to get to $20 by the time of halving, right? I thought maybe after the halving would happen, but not before the halving. So I can see where they're coming from, but they did this. And here's the reason why. So if we look at the rule, what it actually stands for. So Rule 10b5-1, established by the Securities and Exchange Commission in 2000, allows insiders of publicly traded corporations to set up a trading plan for selling stocks they own. It is a clarification of Rule 10b-5, sometimes written as Rule 10b-5, created under the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, which is the primary vehicle for the investigation of securities fraud. Rule 10b-5-1 permits major holders to sell a predetermined number of shares at a predetermined time. Many corporate executives use 10b-5-1 plans to avoid accusations of insider trading, right? So if this was all set up, even 4 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever it might be, this is definitely a nothing burger in my my thoughts, right? Because this was already pre-planned. Like Matt said, they didn't think that stock was going to get to $20 at that time frame, right? Which I don't think anybody here really thought that. We had hopes of it getting to 20 and possibly much higher than that after the halving event, but nobody was expecting that. At least I wasn't. If you were, I mean, congrats to you. But this is obviously also another nothing burger here. It's not like he sold because the stock went up to $20. It was pre-planned. And I think this is a good way to do it, right? If you have these kind of plans in place to do it in advance, that way, if you can point this out to the investors, I think it's not a big deal, right? Plus, even if it wasn't because of this or whatever it was, they've been growing like crazy. They've been doing all these other things, doing really well. So they're more than, I think, entitled to have some major compensation for their efforts and everything else. Basically growing the stock to, multi-billion-dollar market cap within the last year alone itself, and growing the company from basically 100 petahash from just January of 2021 to where it is now at 16 exahash here just basically 3 years later, right? So definitely a huge win for them, and a huge win for obviously Zach here. He's going to have millions of reasons to celebrate his birthday. So congrats to him and happy birthday to him. And I have no problem with this, right? If it's one thing, if they were selling constantly or whatever it might be, we'll see if that's the case, then we'll have something to worry about. But right now we had 2 sales from him here recently. One was just about a month ago or something like that. And then obviously we got one here now that was pre-planned as well. Okay. So this is also, in my view, like a nothing burger. But let me know what you guys think of this. That's it on Cleanspark. Let's get into Sphere 3D. So this is going to be a pretty short video, hopefully. Sphere 3D Corporation provides February 2024 production and operation updates. And here's what we have here. Highlights: 40.3 Bitcoin mined in February, up 15% year over year. Month-end operating hash rate was 1.2 exahash, flat to January due to machine transfers. Uptime was 60% at this point. And then they go down here. There's some Gryphon update as well, which I thought was kind of interesting. They've been obviously battling with them for a little bit. So in November 2023, Gryphon indicated through its counsel that upon receipt of certain information, it would remit outstanding proceeds less fees and expenses generated under the MSA. So that's the Master Service Agreement that Sphere 3D asserts is currently held by Gryphon on behalf of Sphere 3D, and which Sphere 3D believes amounts to approximately 21.6 Bitcoin, or approximately 1.3 million at February 29th, 2024, before factoring fees and expenses. Sphere 3D believes it has sent the requested information. And then obviously here, on March 19th, Sphere 3D filed a conversion claim with the Southern District of New York to secure the return of Sphere 3D's Bitcoin held from Gryphon. On March 21st, Gryphon returned cash of 1.2 million to Sphere 3D that it was previously holding in custody. Sphere 3D is presently evaluating the return and whether it will continue to prosecute the conversion action. So that's kind of where we are with that. So it looks like they got most of it here. I guess they're charging 100,000 roughly for fees and whatever else they're charging in that. So that will help, obviously, Sphere 3D out a little bit here. But looking at their operations here, their operations were not great. And we'll get through this relatively quickly here on it. Let's go down nope, too far. I went too far on that one. There it is. Going back up here. So we can see here, Sphere 3D has about 14.3 million shares outstanding. Stock price as of today was $1.38. Market cap, 20 million, right? Micro cap, basically, small cap stock here that we cover. Current hash rate 1.2. Their future is supposed to be 1.8. We'll see when they can get to that, if they even get to that, if they haven't sold some of those miners. They currently hodl about 23.8 BTC. That's valued about 1.6 million. And then if they get the 1.3 million from them, or 1.2, that will bring them up to, I don't know if it's in BTC or if it's in cash, but that would get them up to about 2.8 million in BTC value potentially. Okay, and then you can see their BTC production here peaked in December with 73. May was actually a better month for them, 77 here, but their second best was in December, and they've been falling down here ever since then. January was 61, February 40.3. And then looking at their month-over-month difference here, you can see that BTC HODL has been also, it peaked in December with 41, and then they've been selling more than they actually mine here to pay, obviously, expenses, it looks like. Their BTC per exahash efficiency way down here to 33.58 for February, so that's obviously not good. Definitely towards the lower end of the miners that we cover. BTC sold, how much they sold. Hash rate, you can see that their hash rate peaked at 1.3 exahash here for a couple months, and then they, I think, either sold machines or just were transferring machines. They got them down to 1.2. And then BTC mined revenue, how much they actually got for it, 2 million here in February, way down about, what is that, 33% down from where they were in December of 3 million, right? That's not a good sign there as well. Hash rate difference month over month, BTC sold value, how much they sold more than obviously than they made. And then going down here, we can see that the institutions and analyst ratings for them, those have actually increased here in the last month or so. This is back on the 9th of this month. I checked this, we had 20 institutions, so that was an increase. Shares also increased to 783,000, and the percentage owned by institutions went up to 5.4%. We still have one buy rating for them, and the targets of $5 across the board for high, average, and low on it. I think that's actually, if all things were equal and they were doing really well, I could possibly see them doing that, but there's obviously issues there, right? We got a lot of cash. Well, they're burning a lot of cash right now with expenses and things like that. But going down here, looking at what they have installed here, we still have, for February, or at least I gave them about 112,000 in BTC transaction fees. And then it looks like they were operating for about 19.25 days on average for the month. So definitely a lot of curtailment there. And we still have obviously the 500 exahash, not exahash, petahash to install to get them to the 1.8 exahash here, potentially. We'll see if they can get there. Based on all these numbers here, I can see them possibly being between $4.53 to $6.79, but there's not a lot of growth there. They don't have a big hodl or anything like that. And they're burning through quite a bit of cash here. If you look at it, in the last couple of quarters, you can see that the revenue here in Q4 was 7.14 million, but their operating expense was 10.5 million. So they're burning through cash like crazy here. And that's obviously going to get even worse for them when we go through the halving event, because at that point, even if they have 8.78 million here for the current quarter, which is estimated right now, they're looking to be probably at around 4-point-something million after the halving, right? But their expenses are double that. So that's not a good sign there. And that's the reason why the stock is where it's at right now, I think. Okay. But that's kind of what we're looking at here for Sphere 3D. And then we'll see what else happens over next week. So there's so much going on, obviously, with the miners here recently. I'm still waiting for a couple of them to report on their Q4 results. We're still waiting on Hut 8, which should be next week sometime. Still waiting on DigiHost, Argo, Moss, and Bitdeer. Bitdeer, I think, reported, so I have to check that if they actually provided the numbers to the SEC. And if they do that, I'll get that looked over the weekend here and get you guys updated on that next week. But that's kind of what we're waiting on. Once we have that, then we'll actually start looking at the quarterly results for the miners and see how they actually all fared for it, and we do a bunch of metrics on it, which are weighted and non-weighted metrics, and we'll go through that once that is all done. But right now, this is all the old data that I have in here. This has not been updated yet, okay? So that is it for it all. As far as this weekend, what's happening, we'll do a probably live stream tomorrow. Not sure what time. We'll probably do it in the afternoon sometime, as I'm going to be joining the Bitcoin stock mining guy on Twitter here tomorrow at 1 o'clock Central Time. So if you guys want to take part in that, we'll see if we can get some maybe nice guests on there for us to talk. I think maybe Sue from Hut 8 might join us as well. I think she stated that she might. So we'll see what happens there. Oh, also that's one thing that I forgot to mention here. I think there's a new class action lawsuit against Hut 8. We'll see if we can maybe talk to Sue about it a little bit, see what's going on there, what the reason is for it. Maybe she can shed a little light into it as well. But that's going on tomorrow. So like I said, the Twitter Spaces tomorrow is at 1. You're more than welcome to join there. You're more than welcome to come on and ask questions. And after that, once that is all done, I'll do a live stream as well. And we'll go over the weekly Bitcoin miners, see how they did over against Bitcoin. And I think we'll call it a day there. Okay. But as always, you guys know the drill here. This is my only sales pitch. All of my spreadsheets are available to you guys through Patreon. Link is down in the description for that. If you guys want to join there, it's $8 a month right now. And then if you can find a spot at $5 and $4, you're more than welcome to take advantage of that. Sometimes users leave, so openings do happen from time to time. And yeah, you get all my data points here, 100,000 plus data points on all this stuff. Okay, so that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope you guys enjoy it. The weather where I'm at is supposed to be kind of crummy, so I'll probably be stuck inside. But that at least gives me some time to do some more work on the spreadsheets. So, but thank you again for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you guys in the next one.